Hi, my name is Greg Brightbill, and today we're going to talk about cover letters. Now, for those of you who have never written a cover letter, now is the time to start. And for those of you who have written a cover letter, hopefully in this session you're going to learn a little bit more about cover letter writing and how you can improve your cover letters so that you can grab the attention of any potential employer. And so, again, my name is Greg Brightbill. I am an associate director at the University of Maryland, Baltimore. I use he, him, or they, them, their pronouns. And today we're going to talk about writing a cover letter. So let's start. Do you always submit a cover letter? How often? Interestingly, some research done asking 200 recruiters and HR specialists how often people submit cover letters. Interestingly, they found that if a cover letter is not required, only 35% of people submit a cover letter. And so that's if a job says you don't need to submit a cover letter, or if it doesn't make a mention of it, 65% of people do not submit cover letters. Now, if a job requires a cover letter, only 38%. So even still, when a cover letter is required, only 3% more people submit cover letters. And still, also, the majority of people do not submit a cover letter. How interesting is that? So now I want you to think. How often do you submit cover letters? Do you submit them with every job you apply for? Do you just submit a resume? Now, the same research and the same poll found that cover letters are still preferred, and that the majority of employers want to read a cover letter, or at least to receive a cover letter, and that submitting a cover letter, if any other reason, as a gesture of interest, of going above and beyond, employers want this. And so even if they don't read it, it's still something that places you as a candidate ahead of the others. And that cover letters are still very important in the hiring process. And finally, a good cover letter can be a saving grace. Because the thing is with the cover letter is it is a part of your application, and it should complement your resume. And even if your resume is not that strong, or if there's something on your resume that could be perceived of as a red flag, a cover letter can still help you get that interview because it will help bridge the gap. And so even if your resume is not good, or if there's errors, or if there's something on it that like a work history break where, let's say, you took a few months off of your career to take some personal time or in the job search, a cover letter can help iron out the wrinkles and land you that interview. Because when you think of a cover letter, it really serves a unique purpose. First and foremost, a cover letter is a personal introduction. It introduces you to the employer. It tells them about yourself. It's your hello. And so it's still very much important to submit one because it adds a personal touch. And it also establishes a connection between you and the employer. It also establishes connections between you and somebody who knows the employer. You know, often in the workforce, it's not what you can do, but who you know. And unfortunately, that is still very true, especially when you're trying to get a job. And so a cover letter is a way for you to draw connections. If you know somebody that works at the organization, if you're very much interested in somebody that's working there, whether it's their research or things that they're doing, or if it's your interest in connecting with the person hiring. Next, it showcases your writing ability. In many positions these days, your writing ability is a cornerstone of your professional abilities. It's essential, you know, whether it is in the health and human services, writing reports, to emailing, to writing if you're in academia. Your writing ability is still essential. And even if the job does not specifically require a strong ability in writing, writing a good cover letter still sends a positive message that you can communicate, that you're an effective communicator. Next, as I mentioned before, a cover letter complements your resume. A strong cover letter does not repeat what's on the resume. Think of a cover letter like a book, or it's not a book. Think of your application like a book, like it's in the library. And if you open it up, you can go to the table of contents and it says, look at all these great sections. Oh, look at all the research. Oh, look, there's a reference section in the back and it's got all this great information. Well, a cover letter is like the summary of the book. It's that little 1 to 2 paragraph section in either the front or the back of the book that says, here's what's in this book and here's why you should read it. And so you need to think of your cover letter like that. It complements. It says, this is why you should interview me. This is why you should take a peek at my resume. This is why you should want to hire me. And finally, a cover letter displays your personality. It allows you to make that personable connection. As often is the case, and still very much so, a common attribute of the job interview process when employers are looking to hire somebody is, do they fit? Now, the term fit is tied up in a lot of things that are both good, but also some problematic. But in many ways, we're talking about personality, you connecting, the way you talk, possibly your passions, your interests. If those can play out in your cover letter, that showcases your personality and makes it so that they feel like you're one of them, that you would connect, that you would love to work with them, and that they would love to work with you. And in a cover letter, really the main point of a cover letter is to do what I call the why you, why them. Okay? Why them? Why do you want to work for them? Why? You need to answer that question in your cover letter. Is it for their uniqueness? There's something about them that's super special and that makes them stand out as places that you want to work. Do they have certain values that you connect with? Let's say, for example, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if I was looking to work at a place and they talked about diversity, well, for who I am, I value diversity. And so if they also value it, then I would want to touch upon that. The culture of the organization. So what about their culture? Is it the fact that they're very casual or very formal or very academic? Or what about their culture do you want? Want to work for? What about their culture connects you to them? And what is their purpose? Why? Think of the purposes. What are they doing? Where are they going? Because you need to make sure that they know that you know their purpose, because what you're trying to answer is, I want to join you because I like where you're going and it excites me. And so, for example, the University of Maryland, Baltimore, their purpose of really serving the public good in Maryland, and you see this in their mission statement. Well, that purpose, I connect to that, helping others. And then because you've already fleshed out the why them in your cover letter, you also need to integrate the why you. So what do you bring to the table? Why would they want to hire you? What about you makes you a strong candidate? And so now you're thinking about, what are your qualifications? Do you have experience doing certain things? Have you been awarded something? Have you showcased an ability to excel, to grow organizations? Do you have any achievements? What makes you an exceptional candidate? What sets you apart from other candidates? Do you have certain skills? And so, for example, if you're looking to work at an organization and they say, let's say it's a tech organization, and they're looking for somebody with a specific skill as it relates to a certain technology, and you not only know how to use that technology, but let's say you even have a certificate in that technology. Well, that's a skill that you have that connects to something that is in their purpose. And so a cover letter allows you to showcase those skills. And then what perks do you bring? Now, when I say perks, it's more than just, team player, or good communicator. Now, what perks do you bring as in your knowledge, your experience? When you think about your backpack of your career backpack, what do you bring in that backpack that they're going to want? So, for example, thinking of, let's say, your research interests or your research expertise or the connections you have, if you have a strong professional network, or if you also bring in a unique perspective, if you bring in something that they don't have right now. And when you say the why you also need to point out if they don't have the thing that you bring, because you're connecting the why them and the why you. And so don't say, well, I bring this to the table when it's clear they already have that. So think of your perks. Now, when you're thinking of the why you and the why them, you have to also just embrace, and this is just a nitty gritty aspect of interviewing and job searching, a little bit of humble bragging. So if I was going to interview for a place, I would say in my cover letter that I have 10 years experience in higher education, improving student engagement with a recorded data metric collection of program achievement, program growth, that I bring in experience in both diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I'm saying how I have these, and I'm showing the skills and my perks, and saying, this is why you should want me. So the why you and the why them, these are really important. Next, when you're writing your cover letter, you need to be able to know a lot about the organization. And this is just in general for any kind of job search. Anytime you're doing a job search, and do this also for the interview, you need to know a lot about an organization, about a company. And so I would start by looking up, their mission, their vision. So their mission statement, what does it say? Their vision statement, which is, for those of you who don't know the difference between a mission statement and a vision statement, you can usually see it, but just as a know-how of what the difference is, a mission statement, think of that's like describing the car you drive. I drive a pearly white Toyota Corolla Sport with a sunroof. Okay, that's my mission. A vision is saying where I'm going. I am going to take that car and I'm going to go to the beach, and I'm going to have a wonderful time at the beach, and I'm going to enjoy my vacation, and I'm going to also, let's say I'm going to go and get a massage. And so the vision is painting a picture of where you're going. The mission describes the car you're in. The vision states, but this is where I'm going to be after I keep going. So a mission and a vision. And the values of an organization is very important, especially in your cover letter, because part of that fit that we talked about, the why you, why them, how do you fit in there? The values really will allow you to make that direct connection. Next, look at media. So what is there anything in the news about this organization that you could talk about? Is there anything on that they've recently published? And then strategic plan. So do they have a posted strategic plan? A strategic plan is kind of like saying how we're going to get to that next step. And so if you can show how you fit in with their strategic plan, then they're going to want to pull you in. A cover letter is the way you do that. And then next, think about their social medias, because this is a great way to see them in action. So look at their LinkedIn, their Facebook, their Twitter. Follow their LinkedIn, their Facebook, their Twitter. And so that way you can see what they're doing if they publish anything. See what's being said, see who's saying it. Next, who are their competitors? If you're going to write a cover letter, you need to know the who, what, and where of of their field. Where is their opportunity? Where are they struggling? Where do they need to grow? Where are they growing? How are they competing? And if you don't know what the competitors are doing, then you really only have a tiny, tiny perspective of that organization. And then finally, learn about the team. So the people that you'd be working with, the people that are interviewing you. Do they have any publications, accolades, projects that they're working on, credentials? So if you're looking to work with somebody on the team, do they have any credentials that you match? Or just knowing their credentials in general helps you, because then you're going to be able to put those in the cover letter. So instead of, dear Sam Doe, well, it would be dear Sam Samuel, or Sam Samantha, dear Samantha Doe, PhD. And so credentials are important, but it is also going to allow you to connect with them. If you also have a PhD, let's say they have a PharmD, that tells you a lot about their education. If you have a PharmD and they have a PharmD, put that in the cover letter. We share a similar background in our education, and I see that as a way for us to connect and work better together. So again, you're painting a narrative. You're helping explain why you fit. And if you don't do your preliminary research, you're not going to be able to give them that strong why you, why them. So now I have a quick little video and I want you to watch it. And it talks about cover letters. Let's set play.
This is my resume, and here's its best friend, the one-page cover letter, aka its wingman. Together they work wonders, because what the cover letter does is set up the resume by highlighting what makes you a great fit for the job. It shows your personality with 3 concise paragraphs that should be readable in around 10 seconds or less. So, how do you write a cover letter? Let me walk you through one. Literally. Let's say you're applying for an engineer job. Don't forget your header: date, name, address, contact info, all that jazz. Kick it off with a greeting to address the hiring manager. If you can, find out their name. If you can't, stick with this. The attention getter, the opening paragraph. Introduce yourself and enthusiastically tell the employer why you're applying for the job. Include why you're excited and how the job lines up with your career goals. Avoid sounding formulaic by adding keywords from the job posting. The middle paragraph. Dig into your most relevant experience and talk about the specific qualifications and skills that make you the perfect candidate. Oh, and feel free to pause and read when you need to. I've only got so long. Where was I? Right. Make connections between your previous accomplishments. Employers will likely have read your resume already, so avoid repeating the bullet points. Instead, deeply illustrate those highlights. To close the curtain, thank the employer. You can also make any clarifications, for example, any major gaps in employment history. Then, provide a complimentary close and signature that's friendly yet formal, followed by your name. Well, I think that's everything. Remember that the smallest moves are sometimes the smartest. Like and subscribe for more tips.
So in many ways, a cover letter is very formulaic. And because of that, it's pretty easy to start assembling one. Because really, the first part of the cover letter really is just your information, your name, your address, the date that you wrote the cover letter, the person at the organization who you're writing to, or the hiring manager, their name, their title, their organization, their address. It's pretty standard. And then you're going to, of course, include a greeting or an introductory paragraph. And so this is just where you introduce yourself. You say what job you're applying for. You say just a general information about your experience, where you currently work possibly, or where you have recently worked. If in academic situations, you may include your education. If you're recently graduating, you're going to include that you're a recent graduate of blank institution with blank degree. If you have education that is unique, or if you're applying for an academic position, you may want to say where you've done your doctorate or your master's studies or your bachelor studies. And then the body paragraph comes in where you just talk about it. That's the why you, why them. And it's where you kind of compare the organization as well as what about them that you want to be a part of. The closing paragraph follows where you start talking about recapping your key experiences, ending with, definitely a cliffhanger of why they need to invite you for an interview, and then the thank you and the salutation, and then your contact information and name. Pretty standard. Now, this is a lot, so I'm going to kind of give it a better breakdown. So when you're thinking about it, of course, as I said, the opening paragraph, this is just where you're stating your position to state the position that you're applying for, where you found it, how you found out about it. If you can, or if you want to, you can name drop. If you know somebody at the organization, or if you know somebody that connected you to the organization, this is a really important thing because, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it really is important to say who you know. And then you close that with a hook. Next is your academic introduction if you're applying for a job in academia, or if you're a recent graduate, just stating where you went to college, your degree, relevant classes, if they are attached to something similar to the job, like if you've taken many classes in accounting. Don't give the class name like accounting 207. That doesn't mean anything, but just tell them like what you've learned, what that complements your experiences. You're not going to always use an academic introduction. Really, you're going to only really use that if it's an academic related position or if you're a recent graduate. Your body paragraph, you're connecting your skills, your experiences, the why you, why them. You're highlighting your interests, why you want to work at that organization, why they should want to interview you or hire you. And then in the conclusion, you're just reaffirming your qualifications and your interest in the position. And then you put your contact information, and you could also offer a follow-up with the employer. This is really great if you are looking to, if you're on a timeline. Like, for example, if you say, I look forward to hearing from you. However, I will be in touch. I will email you within a month to check in to see where you are in your process. It's okay to put that. That allows you then just a reason to touch base with them. And then you end it formally. So this is just a really basic breakdown. Now, a good way to understand things is often using pop culture references. And so for this, I'm going to give you a Star Wars cover letter. And I want you, as you're listening, to think about where is the opening, if there's an academic section, if there's a body, where do you see the why you, the why them, and then the closing. So a letter from Luke Skywalker to the Honorable Jabba the Hutt. Greetings, Exalted One. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight, and friend of Captain Solo. I seek an audience with your greatness to bargain for Solo's life. While I grew up on Tatooine, I am now returning from Dagobah, where I studied under Jedi Master Yoda. I know that you are powerful, mighty Jabba, and that your anger with Solo must be equally powerful. With your wisdom, I'm sure that we can work out an arrangement which will be mutually beneficial and enable us to avoid any unpleasant confrontation. As a token of my goodwill, I bring to you a gift. These 2 droids. Both are hardworking and will serve you well. As a Jedi, I only seek to maintain balance in the Force, and I assure you that our meeting will be mutually beneficial. I look forward to meeting you at your palace. Signed, Luke Skywalker. So this is a great cover letter. Let me pull up my laser pointer. Highlighter. So automatically we see the introductions. Make sure this is really good because, it says, there you go. Exalted One. It's not to whom it may concern. If you can, get a name. and a full name. And if there's post-nominal letters like PhD, MBA, EDD, JD, include those as well. Allowing me to introduce myself. So this is just the basic introduction, stating the name, relevant experience that connects. Oh, also, we're name dropping, we're friends with Captain Solo. Oh yeah, Jabba the Hutt knows Captain Solo. And then the purpose of the cover letter, seeking an audience with your greatness to bargain for Solo's life, laying it right out there. Now, not always, but this one does include an academic. So, making a connection of, hey, listen, we're both Tatooine natives, but I did have a brief hiatus, a brief academic endeavor on Dagobah, and I actually studied to become a Jedi under Jedi Master Yoda. And so, that's my knowledge. That's what I bring to the table. Those are my education. And then the why you, why me? Why you? You are powerful, mighty Jabba. And that your anger with Solo must be equally powerful. Again, you're super powerful. And knowledgeable. But I believe, so now the why me, that I, or Luke in this, can help set up a mutually beneficial opportunity where, with Luke's help, it will avoid confrontation, anything unpleasant. Also, Luke brings gifts. These gifts are pretty good. 2 droids, R2D2 and C3PO. Ooh, that's really great. And part of that, they're both hardworking. Ooh, this is a great perk. Okay, so this is the why you, why me, or why you, why them. And then finally in the closing, this is that hook. As a Jedi, I only seek to maintain balance in the Force, and because balance in the Force everybody wants, and that our meeting will be mutually beneficial. Oh, okay. It's a good hook, like this is going to be good for both of us. And then finally, I look forward to meeting you at your palace. It's not saying I hope we can meet at your palace. It's actually very, direct, which is good often in a cover letter. It's not wishful thinking. It's I look forward to meeting you at your palace. And that's a great closer. Now, if Luke has an email address or a cell phone, I don't know if they have them a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But if Luke is like, hey, but you can also reach me by my cell phone droid, feel free to shoot a message to C3PO, or well, C3PO is gone, but whatever. Whatever trans bonder they have. And then signed, very simplistically, Luke Skywalker. I don't know if they have any post-nominal letters for Jedi, but he may also include it there. Pretty standard, so very formulaic. Now, other things to keep in mind when you're talking about a cover letter. You need to remember, how you can highlight your experiences. You need to be able to highlight the fact that you are the best candidate and that you know a lot about the organization. And with that, you need to make sure that you're consistent. A tip that I really like is to have the same type of fonts, colors, and even structure on your cover letter as you use for your resume. And so that way, when they're sitting there and it's on a table, and let's say they print out multiple pages and it's scattered, they know that your cover letter goes with your resume. And so, for example, you can get creative with how you do your information. So your name, your address, your email, your contact info, so that you can make it a header of your cover letter at the top, and that it would be the same header that you would use on your resume. But also in your cover letter, make sure that you're consistent with the size of your fonts, the colors that you're using. Try to use very simple colors, ones that if they print it in a black and white printer, that they can be able to read it. So I say try to avoid bright colors that don't print well in a black and white printer, or grays. Simplicity is sometimes really great for cover letters and resumes, unless you're applying for a job, let's say in the arts or graphic design fields, where you may want to showcase your artistic abilities. But let's be honest, if you're applying to a job at a doctoral institution to do research as a postdoc, simple is better. The length, you need to keep it simple. Listen, This is not your magnum opus. This is not your autobiography. This is a simple, less than 1 page. Honestly, like half a page is good. 3 to 5 paragraphs. 5 paragraphs actually is probably too much. Think back to my Star Wars one. This is actually about the length that you'd want your cover letter to be. You need it to be able to be read in about 10 to 20 seconds. Very simple. If you're noticing that your cover letter is too long, most likely that means that you're repeating things that are in your resume and that it may not be relevant. Next, think of your style. So what style are you writing? Try to match the tone, but also make sure that your tone and the way you write and speak is showcased in your cover letter. If you're applying to work at a certain organization, just realize like organizational culture is often tied to the tone of an organization and their style. And so try to match that in your cover letter. If you're applying to an academic institution, then you probably have to use more of an academic writing style. If you're applying to work, let's say, for example, at a more casual institution, maybe the tech industry company, then you may have a more casual style in your tone. And then finally, customize. Listen, cover letters should be customized. They're not hard. And in many ways, once you have like a bunch of cover letters, let's say you're applying to a lot of jobs, you can actually kind of pull from many different cover letters to fit the job you're applying for. So once you kind of have like this assortment of cover letters, then you can actually just pull and copy paste. But each cover letter should be unique. And first and foremost, the information that you have on it, such as the name of the person who is receiving it, their contact information, the job that you're applying for, those have to be 100% original for each cover letter. The date that you're doing it, that's a really great thing because it showcases that you're applying, when you're applying, and that it is a custom cover letter. And that, you want to really craft your cover letter to connect to the organization. And so if you're just using the same cover letter for every job, you really probably are not doing a very good job of the why them in the cover letter. And so these are some of the major tips that I want for you to have. One other thing these days that I think is relevant is that often cover letters can be submitted both as a document where you're uploading it, but also sometimes cover letters come in the form of an email. And let's say, for example, if you are applying for a job, you may use your cover letter to also email the person. And so let's say, for example, if you're applying for an organization and the hiring manager is, let's say, Yvonne Smith, and you know that Yvonne Smith is the person that's going to be receiving these, but you're submitting it on their HR website, but you also know that they mentioned to the hiring manager. Well, feel free to upload your documents, your cover letter to the website that you're applying to, but also why not copy the entire cover letter and then email it to Yvonne Smith it's an introduction. That's okay these days. I don't see an issue in that. And it also gives you like a better connection to them. And then finally, when you're thinking about submitting the cover letter, make sure that you know what format you're saving and submitting it as. On both your resume and your references, if you're putting it as a document, and your cover letter, try not to submit it as a Word document and submit it as a PDF. Often I found when I receive cover letters and resumes, all that work that you spent in the formatting, making sure that everything looks good, the fonts are great, all of that lovely stuff. If you send it as a Word, sometimes it can get discombobulated if we're using different versions of Word, or if you save it as an older version of Word, or if I have a Mac and you have a PC. The best way to avoid all that is to submit your documents and your cover letter as a PDF, because that's just a picture, and then it can't get really discombobulated. Also, if you submit it as a Word and there's a typo, or you're using a grammatical technique that Microsoft Word doesn't like, if you submit it as Microsoft Word, they're going to open it up as a raw Word document that is not only editable, but shows any typos, grammatical errors, that little red squiggly or blue squigglies. And if you do that, it just puts that on blast. And so the best way to avoid that is to make sure that it is a PDF and they're just viewing it as a snapshot. So that's a great tip for you. So now what I want you to do is take a look at this. And based on what you've already learned, I want you to critique it. So feel free to pause and look at this and start writing down some of the things that you see that you don't like. And this is a cover letter the person submitting. This is all you got. There's nothing more. And so we're going to come back in a few moments and we're going to critique this. Okay. So hopefully you're pressing play and I'm coming back. And hopefully you have some feedback on this. You've looked this over. So let's go through together. And I'm going to break out my little highlighter. Okay. So what's the first thing you don't see? Well, where is the information? Where's your contact information? The date, your address, their name, their address. Also, who is Aquarium? Is that the hiring manager? Also, let's go back. Other things, typos. Why is there a random comma there? Also, why are there colon there? Try to be specific. Remember, we talked about that. Have a name of a person. Okay. Next. Switch colors. This. Hey there. Does this fit? Is it a little too casual? I don't know. For me, it's a little casual. And then again, typos. Every, you know, all these things. They did get the wrong sense, you know. They didn't really like senses and like your senses and smell. I was a young boy. I have loved passion for marine animals. Now they're attempting to do the why you, the why me, the why you. The first time I swam with dolphins, I was 5 years old. You know, I knew I wanted to be trainers, and there's, you know, of course, typos. There's lots of typos in this. But what job are you applying for? I don't know. Where's the job? And so, you know, going on, my lifelong dream is still, I see in this the connection, but there's no introduction. I don't know who John Smith. I mean, yes, of course, your name is at the end, but I don't know why you're applying for the job. I don't know, you know, a little bit about you. I wish you would have put a little bit of information about your education. Do you have certificates up there? Have you gone to school? Do you have your bachelor's in aquatics or biology or anything, animal behavior? So we're, you know, John's kind of dragging on. Now, I know John's including here a little bit of information. You know, I've spent the past 10 years visiting your park, sitting in your park. But that's not really an educational experience. There's really no connection here to the organization beyond, you know, flattering them. But it's not saying, you know, you are the leader in human dolphin research, and let's say my bachelor's degree thesis or master's degree thesis was on animal behavior, focusing on dolphin linguistics and communication, echolocation. There's none of that. Also, I'm not getting anything about what this person brings to the table other than the fact that they love dolphins. Now, I know that they say I already know some of the hand commands. I guess that's a little bit, but that doesn't really tell me too much. So really, there's very little in this cover letter that tells me why them. And also, there's a lot of typos. And here's the thing to know about typos. And I tell people this when I review resumes. Now, in your cover letter and your resume, the message you're communicating is not always contained in what you're saying, but how you're saying it. And so, for example, if you're trying to sell yourself as a candidate who is very detail oriented and pays attention to details and very organized, I'm going to look at this cover letter and be like, well, I see a lot of typos and a lot of formatting issues. So even though you say that you're detail oriented, I don't think you are. And I don't think you really spent a lot of time on this. Is this what you do when you work? And so, this example showcases how the cover letter and how it was written and the grammatical issues in it and the errors really send a message of I'm not organized and I'm not detail oriented and I don't pay attention to those things. So that's why it's important to keep that in mind. So hopefully you found other things in this. Lots of errors, lots of mistakes, lots of things that you would want to fix. And so as we wrap up, I want you to start thinking about your cover letters, and I want you to go back to your cover letters, and I want you to kind of do what we just did. Think of a recent cover letter that you've submitted. I want you to scroll through it and just the pen and paper, just start evaluating and look at the things, look at the details, start thinking of how you can improve upon it. Because I want you to be very comfortable in writing a cover letter. And the reason being is I often talk to people about cover letters and they say, well, I don't submit them because I just don't know how to write them. And my response to that is, you've already spent all this time working on a resume. A cover letter is really not that hard. You can write a good cover letter in less than an hour. And then once you have a few good cover letters, then you have this assortment of pre-designed cover letters that you can then pull in. And like a Lego set, you can pull pieces from everywhere and put together a new little cover letter in even less time. And so cover letters are much scarier in concept than they are in actuality. And so I hope that from this, you take some of the skills, the tips that I've given, and that you can go feel more confident in your cover letter writing. And hopefully, from now on, every job you apply for, you have, in addition to your resume and your list of reference, a wonderful cover letter that's going to help you get the job that you want and land every interview. So if you have any questions, my name is Greg Brightville. As I said, I work at the University of Maryland, Baltimore in intercultural leadership and engagement. I'm an associate director. Feel free to contact me. My email address is gbrightville@umaryland.edu. Thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck in all the jobs you're about to apply for. And I know you're going to have a phenomenal cover letter and land every interview. So thank you again.